Hello, welcome to Astronautics for Exploit. This is Dr. Ayoshola Ogundele. Mars missions, the past and the present. Missions to unlock Mars' abundant natural resources. The focus points of my presentation are as follows. Mars missions and types of Mars missions. Since the dawn of the space age, Mars has been a fascinating planet to humans. As a result of this, various robotic missions have been sent and are still being planned to be sent to Mars for the investigation of the possibility of the existence of life, its rich and abundant natural resources. Since the 1960s and the first successful Mars flyby, different Mars missions have been launched from the Earth to Mars by various space agencies. The findings through these missions have enabled us to have a better understanding of Mars composition, climate, habitability, and a host of others. Some of the missions that have been launched to the Mars are Mars 1, Mariner 4, Kosmos 419, Viking 1, Phobos 1, Mars Observer, Mars Global Surveyor, Mars Pathfinder, Mars Climate Orbiter, Mars Lander, Mars Odyssey, Spirit, Opportunity, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, Emirates Mars Mission, Cherwin 1, and Mars 2020. Mars 1, an automatic interplanetary station, launched in the direction of Mars on November 1, 1962, was designed to image the Mars surface and send back data on cosmic radiation, micrometeoroid impacts, magnetic field, radiation environment, atmospheric structure, and organic compounds. Viking 1 was the first of two spacecraft, along with Viking 2, each consisting of an orbiter and a lander sent to Mars as part of NASA's Viking program. The InSight Mars mission was a robotic lander designed to study the deep interior of the planet Mars. Tianwen 1, an interplanetary mission consisting of 6 spacecraft, an orbiter, 2 deployable cameras, lander, remote camera, and the Zhurong rover. Scientific objectives are investigation of Martian surface geology and internal structure. The Emirates Mars mission, known as the Hope probe, was launched on 19th July 2020 and went into orbit around Mars on 9 February. Its purpose is to study daily and seasonal weather cycles, weather events in the lower Mars atmosphere, such as dust and storms. Mars missions. The idea of sending humans to Mars has been the subject of aerospace engineering and scientific studies since the late 1940s as part of the broader exploration of Mars. Some have also considered exploring the Martian moons of Phobos and Deimos. Due to humans' continued interest in Mars exploration, various past and present Mars missions for various purposes have been initiated. The picture here shows a fleet of probes and rovers and orbital missions exploring Mars. They are Mars Odyssey, InSight, Mars Orbital Mission, ExoMars Trace Gas Orbital, Mars Express, Maven, Curiosity, and Mars Reconnaissance Orbital. Types of Mars missions. There are different types of Mars missions, such as Mariner 4, Mars 3, Viking 1, Phobos 2, Mars Reconnaissance Orbital, Mars Global Surveyor, Mars Pathfinder, Nozomi, Mars Odyssey, Emirates Mars Mission, Mars Exploration Ice Mapper, Mars Express, Rosetta, and Mars 2020 and 1201. Mariner 4. Mariner 4 was designed to conduct close-up scientific observations of Mars and to transmit the observations to Earth. Mariner was launched on November 28, 1964, and it performed the first successful flyby of the planet Mars, returning the first close-up pictures of the Martian surface. The picture here shows Mariner 4 having parabolic reflector atop the spacecraft bows. Mariner 4 captured the first images of another planet ever returned from deep space. Their depiction of a created dead planet largely changed the scientific community's view of life on Mars. Mission objectives. Mariner 4 mission objectives were to perform field and particle measurements in interplanetary space in the vicinity of Mars and to provide experience in and knowledge of the engineering capabilities for interplanetary flights of long duration. The picture here shows NASA's Mariner spacecraft. Mars Robotic Space Probe Mars 3 was a robotic space probe of the Soviet Mars program, which was launched on May 28, 1971, 9 days after its twin spacecraft of Mars 2. After the Mars 2 lander crashed on the Martian surface, the Mars 3 lander became the first spacecraft to attain a soft landing on Mars on December 2, 1971. Mars 3. The primary purpose of the orbiter was to study the topography of the Martian surface, analyze its soil composition, measure various properties of the atmosphere, monitor solar radiation, the solar wind, and the interplanetary and Martian magnetic fields. The orbiter suffered from a partial loss of fuel and did not have enough to put itself into a planned 24-hour orbit. The picture here shows Mars 3 spacecraft. Viking 1 was the first of two spacecraft, along with Viking 2, each consisting of an orbiter and a lander, sent to Mars as part of NASA's Viking program. The lander touched down on Mars on July 20, 1976, the first successful Mars lander in history. Viking 1 operated on Mars for about 2,307 days, the longest Mars service mission until the record was broken by the Opportunity rover on May 19, 2010. The picture here shows artist's impression of the Viking orbital spacecraft. Phobos 2 is another Mars mission, which was designed to explore the moons of Mars, Phobos and Deimos. It was launched on 12 July 1988 and entered orbit on 29 January 1989. Phobos 2 operated nominally throughout its cruise and Mars orbital insertion phases. On 29 January 1989, gathering data on the Sun, interplanetary medium, Mars and Phobos. The picture here shows illustration of Phobos 2 mission to Mars. Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter is a spacecraft designed to search for the existence of water on Mars as part of NASA's Mars exploration program. It was launched on August 12, 2005. The picture here shows Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. MRO mission objectives include observing the climate of Mars, investigating geologic forces, providing reconnaissance of future landing sites, and relaying data from survey missions back to Earth. MRO carried different scientific instruments, including 3 cameras, 2 spectrometers, and a radar. The picture here shows illustration of artwork of MRO aerobraking. Mars Global Surveyor is another example of Mars mission. It was a robotic space probe developed by NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab and launched in November 1996. It was a global mapping mission that examined the entire planet from the ionosphere down through the atmosphere to the surface as part of the larger Mars exploration program. Mars Global Surveyor performed atmospheric monitoring for sister orbitals during aerobraking and helped Mars rovers and lander missions by identifying potential landing sites and relaying service telemetry. The picture here shows artist's concept of the Mars Global Surveyor. Mars Pathfinder is another mission. It was a robotic spacecraft mission that landed a base station with a roving probe on Mars in 1997. It consisted of a lander and a lightweight wheeled robotic Mars rover named Sojourner, the first rover to operate outside the Earth moon system. Mars Pathfinder was launched on December 4, 1996, and landed on July 4, 1997 on Mars Ares fearless. Sojourner rover on Mars is shown in this picture. Nozomi was designed to study the upper Martian atmosphere and its interaction with the solar wind and to develop technologies for use in future planetary missions. Instruments on Nozomi's spacecraft were to measure the structure, composition, and dynamics of the ionosphere, aeronomy effects of the solar wind, the escape of atmospheric constituents, the intrinsic magnetic field, the penetration of the solar wind magnetic field. The picture here shows artist's concept of Nozomi, showing the spacecraft in orbit around the red planet. Mars Odyssey was a robotic spacecraft orbiting the planet Mars. Its mission was to use spectrometers and a thermal imager to detect evidence of past or present water and ice, as well as study the planet's geology and radiation environment. The data obtained by Odyssey will be used to answer the question of whether life existed on Mars and create a risk assessment of the radiation that future astronauts on Mars might experience. The picture shown here is the 2001 Mars Odyssey. Emirates Mars mission, named Hope, was designed to study daily and seasonal weather cycles, weather events in the lower atmosphere such as dust storms, and how the weather varies in different regions of the Mars planet. The mission will add to knowledge about Mars' atmospheric hydrogen and oxygen loss and other possible reasons behind the planet's drastic climate changes. The mission is being carried out by a team of Emirati engineers in collaboration with foreign research institutions and is a contribution towards a knowledge-based economy in UAE. The picture here illustrates Emirates Mars mission named Hope. The Emirates Mars mission is part of a larger investigation that planetary scientists have been pursuing for decades, hoping to discover what transformed Mars from a wet, warm, potentially habitable world into a dry and cold one. Hope mission is trying to figure out how Mars immersed most of its atmosphere so that its lakes and rivers evaporated over time. An artist's rendition of the Hope orbital around Mars is shown in this picture. Mars Express is a space exploration mission being conducted by the European Space Agency. The Mars Express mission is exploring the planet Mars and is the first planetary mission attempted by ESA. Express also described the spacecraft's relatively short interplanetary voyage, a result of being launched when the orbits of Earth and Mars brought them closer than they had been in about 60,000 years. The picture here illustrates ESA's Mars Express spacecraft. Mars Express consists of two parts, the Mars Express Orbital and Beagle 2, a lander designed to perform exobiology and geochemistry research, but the lander failed to fully deploy. Since 2004, the orbiter has been performing scientific measurements such as high-resolution imaging and mineralogical mapping of the surface. Illustration of Mars Express is shown in this picture. Rosetta was a space probe built by the ESA and launched on 2nd March 2004. Along with Ville, its lander model, Rosetta performed a detailed study of Comet 67P Churyumov-Gerasimenko. During its journey to the comet, the spacecraft performed flybys of Earth, Mars, and the asteroid 21. Illustration of Rosetta's spacecraft is shown in this picture. Tianwen-1, an interplanetary mission which sent a robotic spacecraft to Mars, consists of 6 spacecraft, an orbital, 2 deployable cameras, lander, remote camera, and a Zhuron rover. The mission's scientific objectives include investigation of Martian surface geology and internet structure, search for indications of current and past presence of water, and characterization of the space environment and the atmosphere of Mars. The picture here illustrates 21 spacecraft. Mars 2020 is a Mars rover mission that includes the rover Perseverance, the small robotic helicopter Ingenuity, and associated delivery systems, as part of NASA's Mars exploration program. Perseverance is investigating an astrobiologically relevant ancient environment on Mars for its surface geological processes and history. Illustration of 7 scientific instruments aboard Perseverance is shown in this picture. For more information, contact Astronautics for Exploit. You've been watching and listening to Mars Missions, the Past and the Present. Missions to Unlock Mars' Abundant Natural Resources, presented by Dr. Ayeshola Ogundele of Astronautics for Exploit. Thank you.